Dominic Proctor started at J. Walter Thompson back in 1986 and has really been with the WPP group ever since. He was, I think, the youngest media director at Thompson. He then went on to found and create Mindshare. He was the global CEO of that organization for many years. He's now the president of GroupM, and all of the heads of the GroupM agencies, Mediacom, Maxis MEC, Mindshare, report into Dominic Proctor. So he's the man guiding a massive organization with, I think, about $90 billion of media money under management. He's the man trying to respond, his business, to some of the changes that we've just had a glimpse of this morning. You're going to have the opportunity to ask him questions, but I'm going to kick it off. So please, tweet away. There's going to be a roaming mic. But let's kick off. Ladies and gentlemen, give a very warming round of applause to the president of GroupM, Dominic Proctor. Good morning. Welcome to the Festival of Media. Okay, well, let's just kick off with this. Your market share now, GroupM, 30%.
Not quite.
Not quite, according to Rex.
Unless you know something I don't know.
Okay, so it's big. You're buying, 3 out of 10 ads that are seen around the world, or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Where does a business of your scale now actually go? Where does growth come from?
Our intention is to continue to expand the company in terms of scale by winning more business, more market share, but also, and this reflects actually straight back to Venice 8 years ago, to expand the company in terms of the different products and services that we offer to our clients. And I think, by the way, Charlie, that's not just true of our company, but the other media agencies with whom we compete. I remember discussing then, and I think it's still true now, that the way ahead for us as a business, the media investment management business, is what we call it, is likely to grow sideways as well as vertically. Yeah.
Okay, so what sectors that you're looking at, and in terms of WPP's investments and so on, in the media are particularly, of interest to you right now? What's exciting?
Well, right now the obvious ones would be buying and investing in more and more digital specialists, especially those that work mainly in the emerging markets. So I suppose if you had to sort of summarize it in one sentence, it would be new media in new markets.
Okay. And in terms of the overall shares, let's just stop a second and just think about this big sort of interesting thing going on in the background here, the Publicis-Omnicom merger. If I quote what the EU said a couple of months ago when they signed off the deal, they said the new entity would be sufficiently constrained by several competitors, including the large international agency groups. And therefore, they felt that there was sufficient competition to allow the merger to go ahead, at least in Europe. Publicis-Omnicom, that means that you become number 2 in terms of size. Do you think is that an issue? Is that a problem? And what's your general attitude?
Well, no, I didn't know that quote from the EU, but in fact, I would take issue with it. Actually, I would say that I wouldn't particularly want the new Publicis-Omnicom to be restricted, and that might sound like an odd thing to say, but it's because we've always believed in WPP and in GroupM that in marketing services, media investment management is the only activity that really does benefit from scale. I welcome, therefore, a new scaled competitor, and I hope if they use their scale properly and reinvest the profits from that scale back into the business, that they're not restrained from growth, that they're not restrained from becoming a broader business, that they're not restrained in growing their market share. I think that's the sign of a healthy market. So I think that's a little bit of rhetoric from the EU. We actually welcome, when I say we welcome Publicis-Omnicom, I'm assuming when I say that they will, in some way or other, combine their media assets, either in the way that we've done it or something similar. That's a big assumption. But I think it's a valid assumption because otherwise we don't really see the point of the merger in the first place. So we would assume that Publicis Omnicom are currently working on plans, and I guess there are guys in the room that you could ask, because I don't know the answer, and they will, to somehow make more sense of their volume.
Is it an issue to you and to the business that you lose the claim of being the largest buyer of media worldwide?
No. It's a bit of an issue for my boss. He likes to be number one at everything, and he would like to have 100% market share.
Yes.
There's no question about that. But it's not an issue for me. No, it really isn't. I'm not just giving you a platitude here. I think it's very good for the industry. I think fewer, bigger, stronger players means that if we get it right, if those fewer, bigger, stronger players get it right, and God knows we might not get it right, but if we do get it right, then that gives more capital ability to invest in making the media investment management business a better business to be in. So I don't see it as an issue, and I think it also means the fewer big players that there are, if they behave properly, by definition there'll be less desperate, smaller players who undercut the market and turn it into a price spiral, which is of no good to anybody.
So do you think that, in the light of the fact that the two entities will probably have a 70% combined
I think RECMA says 65, but whatever.
Yeah.
We all know that RECMA's wrong.
Yeah, we may come to that. Given that, that is a technical duopoly. I mean, I remember my A-level economics, and that. Should the clients in the audience be concerned about that?
Well, no, I mean, again, I don't think so. Why would you be concerned if, and this is the big if you're using that scale to their advantage, right? You're putting the profits you make from a bigger business back into the technology that helps you understand and cope with and execute all of the stuff that you've seen this morning from Shingy and from the Mad Professor. That kind of technology that we're talking about. I mean, compared to his data, our data's fairly small, right? I get that. But nevertheless, it's still rather an expensive operation to invest in the technology that helps us to kind of navigate all these opportunities that are out there. It's media investment management is quite an expensive business to be in now, which is why it's consolidated and why smaller players are challenged.
Okay. Just going back to this EU quote, one thing I thought was quite interesting, it was said the new entity would be sufficiently constrained by other competitors, including the large ag groups such as WPP. So they are hinting that there are other competitors to your entities that aren't necessarily other advertising groups. And of course, what we're really thinking about here is some of the companies that are involved in some of Shingy's, in fact AOL themselves, but probably also Google, Facebook. We talk about frenemies. In fact, your boss probably coined the term. Yeah. Do you think that you and the new POG entity, are really facing a defensive situation as much as anything else in trying to defend your businesses from some of the large data groups?
Well, I think that's not our strategy. But I think if we weren't doing what we were doing for other reasons, then we would be under attack from them. If I can answer it that way. What was interesting about the EU thing, thinking back on it, was that when we were asked to make submissions, they seemed to be really quite concerned about whether there would be an abusive position vis-a-vis content development and content provision, possibly at the expense, therefore, of local production companies. They were concerned about that, as well as they were concerned about the huge scale of a Google or a Facebook who could dominate their market economically as well as, should we say, socially. I mean, only last week they got turned off in Turkey, didn't they?
Yes, that's
right.
So
they were as concerned about that as they were about a sort of, an unfair buying position.
Yeah. What you have with these data groups is, how many employees across GroupM now? Just
24,000.
24,000. Just get a rough.
That's how many people we pay. I don't know how many people work there. But
24. So that's roughly 25% of WPP's workforce are in the media business, roughly.
A little bit less, but roughly.
Roughly that. And WPP's trading at a market cap at the moment of about 11 billion, something like that. Mm-hmm. and yet you have organizations famously like Pinterest, in fact, all of the tech businesses that have lower staff but are trading on far higher multiples.
Yeah.
So the question is, do you see GroupM having less staff in the years ahead and becoming more of a black box data-driven business? Do you feel that you could replicate the $500 million of savings that Maurice Levy and John Wren have announced in order to get there? How do you see the business panning out going forward?
Well, I don't know about less staff. I think different kinds of staff. And perhaps we should touch on staff in a minute. I think where your question is driving there is, would we see the businesses being more automated?
Yep.
In that sense? Well, my answer is absolutely yes. I mean, in fact, to be honest, it's rather surprising that a business, not our business, but the whole industry, that turns over on behalf of its clients, hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars, isn't much more automated already. A similar sized business in a completely different industry would more than likely be much more automated than we are. So I definitely would see far more automation in the business, which would hopefully make us more efficient. And if we're more efficient, then we can invest back into the areas where we do see client demand. And these tend to be more in the strategic and digital areas than in the straightforwardly transactional areas. So I don't know whether that will mean less staff, but it will certainly mean different kinds of staff. And that in itself is a really, really big challenge.
Do you think you could compete with the Googles of this world? And of course, I use the Google as a proxy for many a digital startup as well, who are attracting talented, entrepreneurial new millennials, if you like. Do you think that an advertising organization is able to attract the talent that these other guys can?
I mean, to be candid, at the moment, no. And that's a really, really, really big issue for us. And I remember, just referring back to Venice, don't want to keep harping back, but I remember saying that one of the key, I think I had 8 challenges. And the number one was to reinvent our business in such a way that we can afford to pay. And if you take it as entry-level graduates, as a sort of surrogate for how we value people financially, we're in the dark ages still, I would say. I think whichever country you look in the world, we are paying our graduate entry-level people far, far lower than certainly a Google or certainly a Goldman Sachs, but also far lower than, should we say, a traditional legacy advertising agency. We haven't yet found a way, as a media investment business, to re-engineer the finances in such a way that, therefore, we can attract those kind of people. We're not the first option for most of those people, and that's a really big problem.
Do you think that the hierarchy of pay within global agency groups is appropriate? There seems to be a very large distance between the remuneration of the senior partners and co-owners of the organizations. We think recently to the furore over Sir Martin's recent bonus and the pay. Do you think that in other organizations there might be a little bit more equality between pay structures across the organization?
No, not in our business. I'm obviously not going to comment on what Sir Martin gets paid. It's in the public domain anyway. No, I think more, to be honest, Charlie, it's more finding ways of, within each individual agency vertical, of re-engineering the senior and middle management in such a way that we can attract and reward people at the much younger age to get in. I don't think we're good enough as a business, and I don't speak for everybody on this, I can only speak for the GroupM agencies. We're not good enough at taking the risk of giving much more responsibility to people at a much lower age. The people, who appeared in Shingy's videos, rather than, with respect, the people like me or the people in this room.
Yeah, okay. We touched on efficiencies, data, trading. We have Matt Seiler from Mediabrand speaking later, who's gone public saying that 50% of the business by 2015 will be automated in some way, and we'll be quizzing him later on about exactly what that means for his business. You have a different sort of policy when it comes to your trading desks and the programmatic silos that you have. And now Xaxis is within your domain with GroupM. 24/7 is all now part of that suite of products. and there is still some level of client concern as to how much they should adopt your trading platform exchange services. What do you say to clients to reassure them that it's a good thing?
Well, we start off by explaining that we have a suite of products to choose from. We don't have just one size fits all product. And our intention, our strategy, and in fact, underway at the moment as a project, is to develop more and more and more products that clients can choose from, whether programmatic or not. The one you mentioned, Xaxis, the only thing I'd say about that is that you're right to call it a product. It's not an agency. It's a product that is available for clients and agencies to buy on behalf of their clients. We have, let me get these numbers right, about $750 million of billings within Xaxis. We have just short of 3,000 clients around the world in Xaxis markets, which are 33 markets, I believe. It's a successful enterprise. But where it gets misreported by the press, possibly mischievously or not, I don't know, is the fact that each one of those 3,000 clients who use the Xaxis product have positively decided to opt in contractually rather than being sold something they didn't know they were buying. So it's an opt-in strategy. Okay.
Let's talk a bit about geographical markets. Yeah, you travel a lot. You've got you're in over 100 countries. You're pretty well spread as a group. But when you look at the world, which markets out there do you particularly excited about at the moment, and where are you trying to spend a bit more of your time?
Well, this might sound a bit odd actually, because I'm genuinely as excited about the kind of old world, old economy markets as the new ones. Our business, and I guess I might speak for the industry here, we're doing as well in terms of growing older legacy markets like the USA or Germany or the UK or whatever. They're doing really well as businesses. Even our we're in Italy. Even our business in Italy, the Italian market crashed in terms of its overall media expenditure by 30% last year, but we did fairly well, because we're bringing to the market new products and services that clients are, interested in buying. So changing the shape of the old world markets is to me, as exciting as launching and developing new kinds of business in new kinds of markets. In that respect, if you took it scale-wise, then clearly China is still, a really big bet for us. It's an enormous bet for us. But then there are tiny markets, startup markets, like, for example, we're launching now an agency in Burma. You couldn't go to Burma a couple of years ago.
That's right. Yeah.
I think we'll draw the line at North Korea for the time being.
North Korea, here we come.
Not really. Someone else can do that one.
One final question before I just open this up to the floor. I hope this has primed you, because you're the real questioners here, not me. I know nothing about this business. Is about the issue of client conflict. Right now there's a number of massive global pitches going on. They seem to be coming around with more regularity. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it just seems that the businesses you run are just frantically running around all the time, managing pitches, trying to retain clients, trying to win clients. One senses from that there may be something slightly wrong with the relationships between agencies and their clients in some way. I don't know whether that is a fair assumption, but what's your take on that?
Well, my take on it is that first of all, you're right. I can't remember the stats, but I do remember reading some reports recently by the WFA and others that showed an increasing propensity to pitch. My take in it would be that, that's our fault, if you like. I think the media agency business, as I said 20 minutes ago, has grown up tremendously in the last 7 or 8 years. But one thing we haven't done, clearly, is earned enough sustained, trust, relationship, whatever you want to call it, to make the pitches less frequent. We are pitching too often. I do think some clients pitch too often. I'll say that. I stand to be counted on that. And I say that because I don't think it's in their best interests normally, because no matter what we say and no matter what the clients say, the fact is when there is a big pitch going on nationally or globally, it takes your eye off the ball. And pitches now have become so complicated and so intense and often so drawn out that although you go into the pitch saying, well, don't worry, your day-to-day business won't suffer, it does suffer. It must suffer because people are pitching for their jobs. And when you're pitching for your jobs, you tend to think of the future rather than the next day. And I think it does matter. And I think the other thing we have failed to do, which possibly is an ingredient for your assertion, we haven't, as a business, taken the issue far enough away from basic pricing. And therefore, basic pricing is still an incredibly relevant thing in our business. And therefore, because that's the case, the clients will believe that they can improve their basic pricing by pitching it out more often, right? So, and again, that's our fault. That's our fault. So I agree with your assertion. There's too much pitching going on. I'm not proud to say that every year we sit down as a management group and say, we will walk away from more pitches this year because the terms aren't good enough or because we don't have the manpower or whatever it might be. And every year we probably fail in that ambition because when the pitch comes up, we still go for it. Well, there are some that we don't, but by and large, we are not choosy enough. We're not hard enough on ourselves commercially. We do chase everything.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you have the chance to quiz the president of GroupM globally on his agencies, on his business model. I'm seeing some hands. Where's the roaming mic? There's one. Thank you. This gentleman here. What we're going to do for questions, by the way, is do stand up. Please tell us your name and the company that you're from so we understand the context, and then fire away. You first, sir.
Hi, Duncan Southgate from Millwall Brown. At Festival of Media in Singapore last year, Martin Sorrell talked about horizontality being a really important new strategic pillar for WPP. From a GroupM out point of view, how do you see horizontality affecting your business? And I'm not just fishing for more integration with Kantar comments.
That was one of those classic parliamentary questions where they teared up. Does the right honourable member think that he's brilliant? No, I didn't mean that. That's a fair question, sorry. But yes, Millwall Brown, if anyone knows, is also a WPP company.
It is, and a very good company, therefore. And, I take a slightly different view of it than Sir Martin, God forbid. And I know this is being streamed, so I'll get into trouble. But I look at it not so much as kind of horizontality, because horizontality is a phrase that Martin uses almost exclusively internally to WPP. So encouraging clients to use in a coordinated fashion more of WPP's assets. Well, that's, I think, fair enough and rather obvious as an ambition. It would be the same with other groups. I think I'm more interested in what you would perhaps more loosely call collaboration. In that sense, I'm talking about a very, very clear demand from clients to collaborate more closely with their other marketing services providers, no matter where they come from, whether they come from WPP or Omnicom or elsewhere. I think there's a real, and I know we've got lots of clients in the room, so perhaps this will come up, there's a real demand, not just a request, but a demand for all of the agencies to kind of play happily together in the same sandpit and not to fight and not to try and screw each other over and to do that in the client's best interest. Because if we don't do that, then it leaves the clients themselves to be the kind of policemen. And a lot of clients neither have the resources, nor the skill, nor the energy to act as the policeman. So I think I'm answering the question in a slightly different way. So horizontality, I totally understand as a very sensible, obvious objective for WPP. I think it's a broader issue.
Do you think the team structures that WPP have set up has been successful? You have 35 of them, I think, client teams that are trying to address that horizontality. Do they, where do they go wrong?
Where they would go wrong is if we try and, through that structure, force things on people that they don't want to use, I think. Okay. Where they go right is where we tailor the team to match the unique objectives of that particular client. So actually, Charlie, not one of these two teams is the same. On one extreme, you have, let's say, the Colgate team, who are co-located, everyone together, working just on that business, and it's extremely effective because that's what Colgate wanted. Same with Ford in the United States, in Detroit. There's an integrated team that sit together under one P&L, managed by one person dedicated to that account. Other clients don't want that for perfectly valid reasons. And so at the other extreme, we have, frankly, rather loose coordination rather than tight leadership. So I think it entirely depends on the client. We don't have a kind of one-size-fits-all strategy on this.
We have time for one more question, and because that gentleman there put his hand up, I think I know who you are, so robustly and quickly, we're going for that. I apologise if I've missed anybody, but as I say, Dominic will be around very, very briefly outside.
No, I'll be around for a while.
Brilliant.
In the bar, actually, rather than
the bar.
Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Charlie. Jay Sears with Rubicon Project. Matt and I are going to talk a little bit about this later, but Dominic, you made a comment about agency reviews and clients going after pricing pressure. And can you relate that to agency compensation models and how they're changing and what kind of movement you see towards pay for performance? And are you pushing the clients or the clients pushing you towards that model?
Well, the answer is yes. I mean, I can see that. I can see much more movement towards that, and I think it's a kind of combination of the two things. I think clients are, especially the procurement and audit function within clients, are really encouraged to look more at performance payments than FTEs or certainly commissions. We're moving well away from commissions. I think the challenge is actually sometimes putting some really kind of close metrics around what is performance, what are you talking about, how do you strip out all of the extraneous things that we can have no control over. And so the performance often does come down to just media performance rather than the client's performance in the market as a whole, which then additionally puts pressure, if you like, on the audit community who are employed to audit the performance, and that sometimes brings some tension into the system. I'm, by the way, don't get me wrong, I am an absolute fan of auditing and procurement. I think it makes our business much more respectable, much more clear, much more straightforward. So this is not a criticism. I think where we have a plan like that requires a sort of forensic audit to get the performance payment right, then the client also has to be prepared to pay the auditor enough to do that well.
Okay, brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please thank Dominic Proctor for being here and for taking the questions.